The Mummy, which is latest reboot of the Mummy franchise, which dates back to, you know, the films of the 1930s. Karloff was revived, as you rightly said, in that series, a trilogy of films. I think she was in the first two, wasn't she? Yes. She was in Mummy and Mummy Returns, and then also gave us the Scorpion, you know, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That's the first time I was kind of really aware of him. I'm sure he's been around before that, but that was. And at the beginning, there's a thing that says Dark Universe, because it's part of the, you know, the Dark Universe, which is this. What? The Universal, the reviving, you know, reboot. As far as I can tell, they're rebooting, you know, all those Universal properties. So Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all that sort of stuff.
Are they all going to get together in some kind of?
Who knows? I mean, I have to say, I've kind of got a bit universed out, to be honest. I'm kind of at the point when I would just like to see a film that existed in and of its own right. So anyway, we begin with some fantastically dull plot exposition that explains the backstory of Armanette and the deal that she made with the devil Seth, and how she was then, you know, mummified alive and taken from there to somewhere. There's a whole bunch of exposition before we even start. Then we cut forward, you know, 1,000 years. Tom Cruise is in the Middle East conflict zone. He is Nick Morton, you know, soldier, adventurer, Tomb Raider, and he is searching for antiquities to sell for profit. He comes across the tomb of Armanette, the sarcophagus. Incidentally, everything I'm telling you now is in the trailer, and because I'm not sure what. I'm no longer sure what constitutes a plot spoiler and what doesn't. I'm only going to tell you what's in the trailer as far as the plot, because there's one particular thing which I'm not going to reveal that other people have done, but I'm not going to because, you know. So anyway, sarcophagus goes into the plane flies, then plane crashes, great big plane crash sequence. Plane is brought down. And Tom, you know, is in the plane crash. Rightly, he should...
Does he die in the first 10 minutes?
Well, he should be finished off, but he then wakes up in the morgue, still in the trailer, incidentally, still all in the trailer. He then wakes up in the morgue and finds one thing leads to another. He's in this weird lair overseen by Russell Crowe, experimenting once again with an English accent, who does some more of explaining the plot.
Welcome to Prodigium, Mr. Morton. From the Latin, monstrum vel prodigium, a warning of monsters. Forgive the state of things, we had very little time to prepare for our guest, and only the information Jennifer provided to go on. In truth, she works for us. It's not an exact science, this business.
And the business being?
Evil, Mr. Morton. Recognize, contain, examine, destroy. She is by far the most ancient we've ever encountered.
There we go. That's
I was hoping he was going to burst into song, like in Les Mis. That would have been good, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I don't think that would have been good. So, Boyd Hilton, God bless him, tweeted this thing today. He said also, with him on Thursday, Kermode Movie's review of The Mummy. I was sitting in front of him, but I didn't get any vibe. And we saw it together in the
Great
big
self-control.
IMAX screening. No, I was going to say that actually the reason that Boyd didn't get any vibe was because there was no vibe to be got. Despite the globe-trotting locations, the action set pieces, the Mission Impossible style action set pieces involving, you know, the zero gravity fall-y plane thing, collapsing buildings, massive sets, scenes of London being besieged by demonic terror, the poster for the, you know, the moving poster for the eye, in which the eye, the central eye does that thing about splits the pupils, which when you see it up on a great big billboard, oh, that looks kind of great. Despite all that stuff, I spent most of the film thinking, why is this quite so boring? And I think the reason is threefold. Firstly, it's a film that looks like a load of other films that you would rather be watching. So early on you go, okay, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. I wish I was watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then it sort of becomes a bit Evil Dead-y, a bit American Werewolf, a bit, you know, George Romero. And I just think, I really wish I was watching Evil Dead or George Romero or American Werewolf. And then it turns into a kind of just pretty straightforward backstory superhero origins film in which you think there are other superhero origins movies that I think I'd rather be watching. The second problem is that despite the fact that it's based on a very famous horror property, and they've talked so much about honouring the thing, it's not in any way scary. Now, arguably, it's never meant to be scary. It's not meant to be scary at all because it's not a scary movie. It's a Mission Impossible. But it is never scary. And there's part of me which thinks if you're going to do this sort of thing, quite like it to be scary just a little bit. The third thing, however, which I think is the most important thing, is that the script is just absolutely lumpen. Because essentially the film can't decide what it wants to be other than a Tom Cruise vehicle. And it's like, okay, it's a Tom Cruise vehicle, but what have we bolted onto it? Well, we've bolted on the Mummy, we've bolted on the Universal franchise, we've bolted on the severe thing, we've bolted on the Mission Impossible action sequences, we've bolted all this stuff, but it's basically a Tom Cruise movie. And it is so generically a Tom Cruise movie, so staggeringly generically a Tom Cruise movie, that it really could have been called Tom Cruise. And then
Tom Cruise's Mummy.
It could have been called Tom Cruise's Mummy. Yeah, exactly. If this is what the rest of the subsequent movies are going to look like, I can pretty much sign out of it now. I didn't hate it because hate would actually involve being engaged and being swept up enough to have an emotional response to it. And there's a certain level at which, when you're making this kind of movie, there is a technical... I mean, there's an awful lot of CG, but there's an awful lot of sets. I mean, there's just a certain level of technical achievement which you come to take for granted and no longer seems in any way exceptional. And I saw it on a really big screen with the volume turned up to, 11 stupid. And my main problem was just a complete inability to be interested. And as I was watching it, I started thinking, I remember once saying that from a film critic's point of view, at the point that you find yourself not interested in something, that's the point at which you should probably stop. And I started thinking, is this me? Have I literally just got to the point with these kind of franchises that I just don't care? And then I saw Wonder Woman. And then I went, no, it's not me. This is me breaking up with Tom Cruise. Tom, it's not me, it's you.
So here's the problem. It's because it is a Tom Cruise vehicle.
No, the problem is it's so mechanical. It's just like like some mechanical fairground. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean. It just feels like we've got a Tom Cruise film. What are we going to do? Let's bolt a whole bunch of stuff onto it, regardless of what the actual origins of the project may or may not have been, regardless of all the things that it may be connected to, regardless of the scattering universes into which it may filter, regardless of who some of the other characters turn out to be, which I haven't mentioned in this review because it's not in the trailer, and therefore I could think, okay, well, is that going to be a plot spoiler? And we don't want to get into a Star Trek, situation. I know, but I'm just saying.
Does anyone mind that much if there's a plot spoiler about the Mummy?
I don't want to be the person to spoil anything for anybody else. The other thing I would say is that literally the moment Russell Crowe opened his mouth, I went, really?